Well, greetings and salutations, one and all, to the final, just kidding, our 100th episode of Career Retrospectives. What's going on, guys? How are you
Woo!
guys doing?
Yeah,
Hey, looking forward to this one. Big
yeah.
Yes,
100.
the big 100, aka number 100 of our show, Career Retrospectives, right here on the Super Review Show Network. I am joined by my two incredible friends, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Hey,
Oh, what's going on? Ready to
So,
dive into it.
so we did a poll on our YouTube channel, just figuring out what we should do next for our 100th episode, and you guys voted, and we appreciate your input. And as the title of this podcast suggests, alludes to whatever. Today we're going to be talking about and discussing and breaking down Eminem's most recent release, "The Death of Slim Shady." Kyle, I didn't even know he put out a new album, but Kyle kind of like told us about this, so he's going to give us a little bit of background on what's going on with Eminem nowadays. But Kyle, this is your like pick, so to speak, for our 100th episode. What do you got, bud?
sure. So, first of all, JT, what rock are you living under that you didn't hear about this? This is probably one of the, Jesus, dropped my phone. One of the biggest album releases of the year in the mainstream, absolutely for sure. Something that I was very much looking forward to. And, Eminem's had kind of an interesting career where he was huge for being this controversial rapper that said things that in today's society would probably get him canceled, which is a main focus of this record, which we'll get into. But then in most recent years, kind of in a way toned that down into having a few albums worth of just him rapping about how great of a rapper he is. Uh, I've enjoyed all this stuff. So going into this, I was really looking forward to kind of the return to that Slim Shady persona. So JT found with that track, let's like get right into it. I mean, first of all, having a concept album from Eminem is just it's great. I love the concept. These songs throughout flow for the most part very well and tell a very compelling and interesting story that I really enjoyed throughout. I mean, starting with Renaissance, this intro is fantastic. It really sets the tone for what to expect for the rest of the album here. I mean, Slim Shady's back for sure on this one. Perfect opener to set that up. And so a lot of the ratings I'm giving specific songs on here, they're kind of also influenced in a way by how they fit on the context of this album, which I feel like you kind of have to do with like a concept record like this. I mean, this is a 10 out of 10. I mean, this as an intro sets the tone perfectly. Then you get into habits. This one, I don't like it as much. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. I don't love the chorus on this. I don't like the feature. I don't hate it. It's just kind of there. I think it slows down the momentum of the song at parts. It doesn't really add much. I really love that South Park sample in there from the as the Safe Space episode with the reality sample. I think that's hysterical. Worked so well. I love on this track the way he changes his cadence throughout the song, so it doesn't get stale ever. It's an almost just about 5 minute long song, but it doesn't really feel like it. He goes into each different verse with different cadences, changes it up, really shows the technical proficiency on that. And I love this one. Could have done without that chorus, or maybe just change it up slightly to make it better. Then you go into Trouble, which is like a 40-second little, not a skit, not an interlude, but just a little 40-second, almost like comedy track. It's hysterical, and it really pushes the story of the album forward. I'd give the song a higher rating. This is an 8 out of 10 for me. I'd give it a significantly higher rating if it was longer. I wish it was longer. I love where this was going. But it kind of works as an intro to Brand New Dance, which is one of my top songs from this record. This is a 10 out of 10. This is a fantastic throwback to that old early 2000s Eminem sound. The lyrics are hysterical. I mean, you can tell that most of the song is written back then with all the references to Christopher Reeves, who I guarantee you anyone from Gen Z listening to this is probably like, I don't understand this, but that's all right. I understand it, and that's what makes that's what makes it important. If you like old Eminem, you're gonna love this song. It's super fun. I mean, it's just a straight throwback to his earlier work. And then we get into this group of songs that I kind of lump together almost, starting with Evil. I will say Evil's definitely the best of them. So I'm talking about the next like 4 tracks here. Evil's definitely the best of them. This one, another 10 out of 10 for me. This album starts incredibly strong. Another one with the classic Eminem vibe. Uh, the lyric on here that I just really have to point out as being one of my favorite lyrics in the album because of how ridiculous and funny it is uh not the good kind of gay either when JT, sorry, it's Eminem. We're not gonna be family friendly here. Uh Not the good kind of gay either when two dudes fuck each other and hate Beaver. That is one of the dumbest but funniest lines on this record. It's pure classic Eminem, pure Slim Shady. I love it. Uh, and just lyrically, this song I really enjoy. It has one of the few good choruses on the album. And then you got All You Got. It's a skit. I will say that the skits throughout this, I'm usually not one to be a fan of like the skits and interludes throughout, especially on rap albums. I feel like usually they don't work. But with this album, I feel like they actually do. They contribute to the story. It's a skit, not rating it. And Lucifer, probably the first song of the album that I'm not like huge into. I do like this song. Sits at about a 7 after, repeated listens. I really don't like the chorus on this one. The verses are good, they're lyrically solid, as is just about every song on here. Just not too into it. It's a little bit repetitive. There's not many cadence changes throughout this, which so far before this we've experienced quite a bit of, but it's not a bad song. Then Antichrist picks it up quite a bit. Back to like a 9 here. It's not perfect. I really love the Gen Z call out from him here. And I just find it really funny how back in the day, it was the older people trying to, for lack of a better word, cancel Eminem, and they're all angry with him, and the young people loved him. And now we've come full circle where the old people are defending Eminem and love the album, and the young people are being offended by it. Just really funny how that all comes full circle. I do think that again, the chorus on this one is the weak spot. It slows the song down when it comes in, kills the momentum a bit. I could really do without the bizarre feature at the end. I didn't think that really added much. I thought it kind of comes out of left field, but has these cool cadence changes that I like. And from here, the album kind of goes into like a mixed bag for me. We go to Fuel, which is again good song. I like it. It's a 7. It's not a great song. It's one of the few features though for me on here that actually works pretty well. Uh, Again though, the chorus, total momentum killer. Uh, his Eminem's verse on here though is killer. Another one of my favorite lines on here, the he didn't just spell rapper without the P Diddy. That's incredibly clever. Love it. He always is great with wordplay. But then we get to one of my least favorites on Road Rage. I know what he was going for on this. I think we can all say that we know what the point here was. But wow, that is a horrendous course. That is one of the worst things. It's dreadful. I hate it. His verses are totally fine. The lyrics on it are okay. The feature and the chorus just weighs it down too much to the point where if it's not in the context of this album, I'm probably not listening to this one. Sits at about a 5, just because in the context of the album it works. And I like everything about it except that chorus and the feature. Which brings us to the first single from this record that introduced us to what to expect here on Houdini. And this is probably still, even after hearing the rest of the album, my favorite track from here. I loved this on first listen when it came out. The sample is done incredibly well on here. It's catchy. It's the perfect balance of the Slim Shady and Eminem, going back and forth type thing. It's really well done, lyrically good, perfect introduction to the album. Glad it was the first single. Definitely worth it. 10 out of 10. Super catchy, great track. Breaking news, another skit, about Eminem wanting to cancel himself on his new album. Yeah, little tongue in cheek there. Then Guilty Conscience 2, which is a song that I had high hopes for going into, seeing as Guilty Conscience is one of his most iconic and best tracks from the original Slim Shady album. And this really didn't disappoint, to be honest with you. This was a 10 out of 10 here. I was worried going into this one that it wouldn't live up to it, but I really think this is a great successor to the original song. The conversation between Marshall and Slim on here, going back and forth with each other, that internal monologue, just really, it translates very well put into a song. And I just think that this song kind of perfectly encapsulates the story of the album and what he's trying to accomplish here. But then that brings us to when I think the album starts to not miss, but get a little less consistent. Where I feel like here is, I think Guilty Conscience 2 would have been a fine and perfect ending to this record. And I say that not because the next songs are bad, but because I don't think they add anything to the story. Except maybe I would keep the closing track as the closing track. But you go to Head Honcho, which is it's a good song. I enjoy it. It sits at about a 7 for me. But I'm really not as into Eminem songs that are just about how he's the GOAT and how great of a rapper he is. We've had probably 2, 3 albums worth of this material from him before. I just feel like it's been done so many times from him. It didn't really sound much different from some other stuff he's done. But that closing line of "You'll be a stan till I die," though, great line. Love that. I love the corny stuff like that. Temporary. On the flip side here, I love emotional Eminem songs. I think it's something that he does incredibly well for the most part. But this song really it sits at an 8 for me, and the reason on that being it's just not his best emotional song. It's good, but it's filled this same void is filled but better by other tracks of his on other albums like A Rose and Castle, like those 2 tracks combined back to back on Revival. It's kind of the same thing, done a little bit better. He's done similar tracks, so I mean for that reason it's an 8. It's an overused chorus slightly, still a really good song. And then my least favorite song on the entire record with Bad One. Uh, if you like the more modern hip hop or more like modern rap styles, you'll probably enjoy this one significantly more than I did. As me, who's someone that's really not into like the modern beats and like the modern rap cadences, this really didn't work for me. I don't like the chorus at all. I think it's pretty grating, to be honest. The lyrics are fine. It just really doesn't seem like it fits on this album, and yet it's another song about how great he is. And oh, she's gonna say I have a bad song, like, oh, or a bad album. Like, oh my God, we know, we get it. And then Toby, I get what this is doing in bringing like the 3 Detroit rappers together on a track. It's cool. Again, this is kind of a more modern styling. This one is significantly better than Bad One. It does it way better. It's a 7. It's not really my style of rap. With that said, I would go back and listen to it. I think it's done pretty well. It has a much better chorus than the last one. Guess Who's Back? That's a cool skit. So what I would have done personally was I would have cut out Head Honcho, Temporary, and Bad One, and just ended this on and Toby, and ended this on the Guess Who's Back skit right into Somebody Save Me, which is a very good album closer. But my points on this one are almost exact to what I said about Temporary, in that it's a good closing track. It is emotional. He does emotional songs very well. The content is very similar to Temporary, which in turn makes it very similar to songs he's done in the past. Uh, with that said, it's still a very well done song. You can really feel the passion and emotion behind this track as well as Temporary. I really enjoyed this album. Going into it, I was pretty hopeful for it, but you never know what to expect when someone tries to, not redo, but kind of like reference previous work. It can usually go one of 2 ways, and I think this one went in his favor. Is it as good as I was hoping? I think it could have been better. I do really like it. I think that it had moments that could have been cut out or some features that should have been left off. But I feel that way about most rap albums. As a whole, as a piece of art, I think it told a very compelling story. I really enjoyed it throughout. Just him killing off the Slim Shady persona. Uh, I think it just really brought his career full circle. If this is, you never know with Eminem. If this is the last thing he does, I'd be satisfied. If this was like his swan song album and that's it, totally good with it. Uh, you know, the amount of callbacks on here was great. This really brought back that element of controversy that's been missing from his last couple of albums. And I think this album was a perfect combination of old sounds and new sounds, which when you look at the order, like the ordering of the track list here, it really does start with more classic Eminem sounds, and then as it goes on, continues to branch out into more of his modern sound. And I think it's cool. It's well done. It's a solid 8 out of 10 in my book.
All right, you heard it here first. Kyle says it's an 8 out of 10, and I'm gonna go next if it's okay, Mike. I don't want to take anything from you.
Problem. Go for it.
All right, cool. My enjoyment of Eminem is not as prominent. Like when I mean, I was Kyle's a couple years older than me. Mike's a little older than me too. But like,
Easy, easy.
no,
All
no,
right.
I didn't mean it like that. All right, I didn't
Yeah,
mean like
call
that.
Mike out right in front of everyone.
Sorry, everybody.
Jeez, me and Eminem were hanging out together. No,
Yes, good old
much
Marshall
older
Mathers
than
and
me.
Mike Cornell.
Just
Um,
kidding.
no, no, no. But in all seriousness, my enjoyment of Eminem came later on in life. I guess you say. Like I mean, I knew his material from when I was very young, in like the early 2000s. He kind of blew up, and I was probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 years old when he was, Lose Yourself and Without Me were jumping on the charts. But this album is definitely. It's funny. Listening to it several times over before you guys out there decided to let us know which album we should review. Thank you for that, by the way. Um, we my enjoyment of Eminem has always been like I was kind of like a greatest hits with him. I never really like listened to a full album of his until this album came out. I know that sounds like a sin from us for somebody like, oh my God, how could you only listen to an Eminem album? Like, only listen to this album. Listen, sorry, I do other things in life too. It's been on my docket to listen to one, and now I'm. Yes, Kyle, I did live under a rock. I had no idea this was coming out until you said let's do it. So just saying. But needless to say though, I thoroughly was intrigued. I was very in shock about how when I didn't realize it was a concept album until I started listening to it. I didn't realize what it was until he actually like the Renaissance track started. And I was like, oh my God, this. And then I looked at the track list and more. I'm like, oh my God, Eminem made a concept album. So yeah, you had my attention right away. Let's go back to track by track for a sec. So I'm gonna make this kind of quick because I mean, for me, the skits are. I want to just kind of sum it up by saying that the skits are very funny, for the most part, and the skits do tell a good story throughout the record. I'm not going to count them as songs though, because they are just skits and they're not pieces of music necessarily. So I'm not counting the skits in this one, but I'm going to count the songs though. Like Renaissance, I'll count as a song. But Renaissance, what a start to this album though. I got to admit, this is not quite as high as Colin this, but he's like 8 out of 10. I'm saying like a 7 out of 10 on this one. I like this one a lot. Now, when I go back, my big thing is when I go back to a song or go back to an album. As of right now, I'd go back to this album. But when I go back to this album in like a year or two. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It's just my enjoyment. I mean, do I listen to Eminem on a daily basis? No. Do I enjoy his stuff? Yes. But as far as it being like the greatest thing I've ever heard, it's up there. He's up there, but not like up there for me. But Renaissance is a solid track overall. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. Habits, this is about an 8 out of 10. Actually, I agree with Kyle though. This was a very strong start to the album with Renaissance and Habits back to back. Habits, um, it is almost 5 minutes long, and it's 4 minutes and 58 seconds long, but it's a very solid track nonetheless. And I don't want to reiterate this song by song, but I will say that the storytelling from song to song on this was actually a really, really well done. So if you're out there listening to us or watching us, and you're like, oh, I'm looking for a new album, a new concept album, or an album that tells a story. This is one I would recommend highly for you to check out. So yeah, right off the bat, telling great stories in music, we need that more nowadays, in my opinion. Trouble, It's 42 seconds long. Nothing too crazy there. I like it. I'm stuttering already. It's about a 7 out of 10 there. Nothing too bad. Brand new dance. I could not agree more with Kyle. This is definitely a throwback track to his like without me without you without me days, or even his lose yourself days. I this is my 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed this track quite a bit, actually, more than I thought I did. Upon more listens, I was like, "Oh, this is really good track." Yeah, 10 out of 10 for brand new dance. Evil, just a fun. We need more fun in music nowadays, and I feel like Eminem delivered in that aspect with this record. Because there's just, and yes, he's gonna curse. Yes, he's gonna be explicit. I mean, Kyle said the line before about the gay and Bieber and all that stuff. And yes, we keep our show PG-13, but it's Eminem we're dealing with, so we got to be careful, of course. But Evil, just a great track. That's an 8 out of 10 as well. It's just a solid track overall. I like it. I would go back to this one a lot more than I thought I upon because I look at the time like, oh, is he like cursing at someone now? What's going on? No, this is actually a really good track. I like this one a lot. As I said before, the skits, I'm not gonna really rate the skits because they're just skits. They're not really adding. They add something to the story, but they're not adding something to the music, in my opinion. That's just me. Lucifer. The moment I saw this title, I thought of Jay-Z immediately, just because of Lucifer's on the Black album of his. Great track. A solid 8 out of 10 for this one too. The feature of Sly Piper just it didn't do much, but needless to say, it's still a good track. The Lucifer was a very good track. I like the one quite a bit. Antichrist. When I first saw this title, I was like, all right, what's going on, Em? Are you okay? Is everything all right over there? And no, this is a really good track. I'm saying an 8.5 out of 10 for Antichrist. Just a really just solid track overall. And then we get down to Fuel. The featuring of Jid. I mean, I knew Jid from the Imagine Dragons track Enemy. I don't know if you guys remember that at all. But that's when I first saw his name and I was like, oh, that's featuring Jid. Okay. All right. I'm familiar with something here. But Fuel, good track overall. I was saying I said a 7.5 out of 10 for this one. It's good. I do like it quite a bit. Road Rage, it's funny. It's not bad, but it's not great. I'm saying about a 6.75 to a 7 out of 10 on this one. I like it, but upon more listens, it just was not as it was not as it didn't hold up as much as I thought it would later on. But that's just me personally. Then we get to the 11 out of 10 on this track with Houdini. This is being played all over the radio right now, and it's a fantastic single. This is the 11 out of 10. You heard me correctly. For this song, Houdini is a fantastic track. And I guarantee you, somewhere Steve Miller Band and Steve Miller's like racking up millions and millions of dollars rolling into his bank account because they used the sample of Abracadabra. Got to admit it, got to love it. But it's a really great track. Um, you could just tell that it was meant to be heard, meant to be played on radio. Top 40 has it going right now. The clean version, the clean edit, of course, is being played on Top 40 and Top 40 radio left and right. How do I know that? Because I work for a Top 40 radio station. Just the truth. Great track. 11 out of 10. The rest of the skit again. Breaking news. I'm not gonna go heavily into it. I'm not with rap artists and skits and it's not a piece of music to me. It's just like them rapping or telling a story that goes along with the album. It doesn't hold much weight to it. I said that before. Guilty Conscious 2. I had never heard Guilty Conscious 1, Kyle. I know, shame on me. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that. But I like this track a lot. It's actually a solid 8 out of 10 here too. Actually, I really like this one a lot. It's not quite the 10 out of 10 that you gave, but I do like it nonetheless. Though it's a solid 8 out of 10 there. Head Honcho, sitting about a 7.5, could go up to an 8 depending on more listens. He's just, as you could tell, consistently, Eminem has showed he can deliver a solid record overall. Just throughout a record, and unfortunately, I, I'm out of all the following tracks with Temporary, Bad One, Toby, Guess Who's Back, the skit, and Somebody Save Me. Toby has a little bit more weight for me just because it was like they ripped off the Spider-Man thing. The promotional artwork for it was actually like of the three Spider-Man, but it was all three rappers of Eminem, Baby Tron, and Big Sean. Oh, I thought this was fairly clever on their part. That's why I'm holding any weight for that one whatsoever. Um, I like Toby though nonetheless. Good track overall. Bad One and just going back for a sec. Head Honcho, Bad Temporary, and Bad One, kind of all like I'm putting it like sixes, maybe could be 7s out of 10 for that one. They're not bad. They're just not as good compared to the rest of the album. It holds up. But Toby, great track over. I give this one 8 out of 10. I actually like it just because the promotional artwork and when I saw it come out, I was like, all right, he's doing this, of course. Um, Guess Who's Back, the skit. Like I said, it's not nothing too crazy for me. Somebody Save Me. This is a very solid closer for this record. I really enjoyed this track a lot with Jelly Roll, and it shows how Eminem, despite how old he is, he can still put out an album where he can still put out an album where featuring an artist that's hot and contemporary, like a Jelly Roll, who's like exploded. I think was it last year. I think I forget. It may have been or mid 2023. He blew up. It shows that Eminem can really make a song with an album, excuse me, a song with an artist that really just is strong and does a great job with it nonetheless. So, anyways, I'm saying this one actually is about an 8.5 out of 10 for Somebody Save Me, featuring Jelly Roll. In my concluding thoughts on this album is that like yes, I live under a rock. I was not aware that Eminem was putting out a new album until Kyle said that we were getting one. I was like, all right, cool. And then, needless to say, it became our 100th episode of Retrospectives. So there you go. But nonetheless, though, I think this is a solid, really. If you like I said, if you're looking for a concept album, if you're looking for something that tells a story throughout a record, which is something we don't have that much anymore, truthfully, unless you want to go back to the rock genre for like certain songs or certain stories or certain aspects of stuff. Like, the closest thing I think of, like, it's like 21st Century Breakdown, American Idiot, if you want to go back that far. But and I can't think of off the top of my head. But this is a very solid record overall. I'm actually sitting around a 7. Maybe I could go up to a 7.5, but I'm gonna sit at a 7 out of 10 for The Death of Slim Shady by Eminem. That's where I'm at with that. A 7 out of 10. I could go up to 7.5 depending on what day it is, but I'm saying about a 7 out of 10 for The Death of Slim Shady. But I know Mike loved this record. He's an Eminem freak.
Well, it's funny. There's two types of Eminem songs. And a lot of this album felt like it was a throwback to like mixtape sounding songs, where the beats kind of sporadic and all over the place. And then there's those typical, hey, everybody's on the dance floor songs that have an actual song behind them, an instrumental song with instruments and instrumentation and all the other aspects. And then you have your typical just kind of beat and, hey, how many words can I say in under 10-second kind of songs, moments like that. You have a lot of this and that in this album, and it was a little brutal for me to get through. It really reminded me of how um I prefer the song side of Eminem versus the mixtape rap side, and I'm not impressed by like, hey, here's my bars. I'm more impressed by making the beat work alongside your rap, and a lot of it I felt fell short of that. I go back to old school roots. It just felt like a blend of new school and old school, a little bit for everybody, which I felt like Eminem's kind of done that thing in some of his past recent work. Lyrically, this was tough to get through. It's just I've never been a fan of the Eminem shock rap kind of stuff. It's been funny, but like, it definitely felt so intentional that it almost lost its um its randomness where it didn't feel intentional. You know what I'm trying to say? Like where like he touches on subjects and then he moves on. It felt like, hey, how many times can I say the same words over and over and over again? How many times can I mention Christopher Reeves? How many times can I mention the same kind of like targets? It didn't feel like, hey, I'm just touching on this. And I like the songs where he talked about his life with like Kim or something, or he talked about something that was happening or a story where this one just felt like somebody going on long rants about things that they didn't agree with. And that makes it feel so it lacks the randomness and like overall kind of, I guess, just you know, pulling from different areas that it's just like, hey, I'm just gonna write a bunch of songs with the same long list of gripes and different things that he's just like on about. So, like beats like with habits that had in there. I like the change ups, I like the orchestration in the background, but and the layering, but also it felt like it dragged on at times. Like there's times he knew he had a lot of words to get out, and it felt like the song just kind of stalls while he gets his words in, and it didn't. I actually kind of that's one of my more favorites. So I didn't rate any of these songs. I'm actually just going to give it a rating at the end. I decided to do it there is like a couple songs I did give a rating to, but like overall, I just wanted to speak about how the songs, what I liked, the elements that I liked in them, and the elements that I didn't like, and some I didn't like more than others. So, but that one I kind of like. Did like the beat of that. It felt kind of more modern sounding. With some elements old school. So yeah, that's it. Started off decent there. The first Renaissance, song wasn't really didn't do too much for me. So, but I did like Habits. I did like the chorus. Wasn't the greatest, but you know, I like the theme of it. Being like addicted to that kind of what he's going on about. So, then we come into just the next song. It was Trouble. Um, that was okay. It's just a lot of cringiness to it that just didn't sit well with me. A lot of this album did not sit well with me, and it was just tough to get through. And then you move on to like Brand New Dance. Brand New Dance is more the old school Eminem, like the kind of like song that Eminem raps behind versus just the beat and the kind of whatever. The problem with Brand New Dance is it's just had the most annoying kind of sound effects in it. The beat to it wasn't great. Like it was like your typical like catchy vocal, offering from him, but like it felt kind of just bizarre and just weird and it didn't hit the way I hoped it would. It definitely is trying to be a throwback to like his usual, you know, sound that he would do, like without me or whatever, kind of, but it just missed a mark. Um, I definitely, and he beat that Christopher Reeves thing again and again and again. It was just like, it just felt like somebody who's out of insults and not going to something more relevant or more like I get what Kyle's saying, like it's something like the older fans would understand, and it's like an old joke like someone would make that you wouldn't understand. Like if you made a joke about Lorena Bobbitt or a joke about Rodney King, like you only people who grew up during those times would understand those jokes. But like having him do it again and again and like repeat it in several songs across, it felt like weird. It just was like, really? Like I got the first time you said it, but like now you're saying it again, and oh wait, now you're talking about something like you talked about before again and again. It was very just it felt a little out of touch, with like how to like talk about something, but like be clever and modern with it, as well as throwback, like blended together, right? Um, Overall, it was just a little weird. And then like I'll group them all together: Evil, Lucifer, Antichrist. Those were slower, more slow jam, old school esque, but they were just, once again, the lyrical themes are just, it's just the cringiness that I just kind of encountered. Didn't really do much for me beat wise, didn't do much for me like song wise. They were just kind of there. And they're, they have moments, but the cringiness of Antichrist with all the voices in it and slice and dice, it just felt like which is like very strange. You know, it just had a recurring theme throughout it. Obviously you have the Eminem and some Shady and Marshall Mathers, and like kind of the idea that I got from it is he kind of says that they're part of each other and they're not separate anymore. I don't know if that's what he was going for in this, but like I kind of got that vibe from it. Fuel, Road Rage. I actually really enjoyed that song. It felt like the first time it wasn't just, hey, let me mention gender and this and that and like go to the easy targets to that somebody would do to trigger people, and let me write an actual song that actually has some just like lyrics that aren't all about that. And I was just like, that actually is pretty cool. Like I was just like, this is the first one that actually, and I was actually bobbing my head to the beat. It's just that like the rap wise it kind of fell short, but on Eminem's side, I like the other dude, Jid. Actually was, definitely bringing that. But I just felt a little like it all fell short. And then we come to our first song that I was at. It was an absolute home run, Houdini. It's total throwback to the old, total good use of music underneath a rap. It really brings you back to that Eminem kind of like, that's an 11 out of 10. I agree with JT on that. That it's just like, you know, it's going to be one of them that joins his catalog as the, like the things you remember. And it's where I like Eminem to be, in that music, rap over music rather than rap over that kind of like just a beat. Um Other than that, we kind of come down, guilty conscience. It's just a lot of the same. It just felt like a spill, a, a puking of consciousness, like the speaking about all these things in your head and this and that. Not much to say there. You know, it's just I prefer that more, the song kind of songs that Eminem, the song under the rap versus the beat. And then they tried to do the temporary, with the girl vocalist. They kind of rekindled that type of song that he did like back in the day with Rihanna or whatever. It felt very weak. It definitely did not combine very well. Just wasn't for me. Bad one, while I feel like it once again, it's just a little more on center with like uh some of the things you expect from Eminem. It just, yeah, it was just kind of like a lot of these I just passed through and didn't get hit up by anything extraordinary until I got to like, I was hoping uh the new dance one was a little bit better, but it just never really, like, it had too much weird stuff that took me out of it. Like once again, the skits, I agree. No, I'm not going to review those. They were just they kind of just built the lore of the album and like the theme or the topic or whatever that he's going. These two forces that are just trying to battle, um, to have the final like kind of like a control over, maybe the career or the whatever. And then we get to like Somebody Save Me. It's it's like a good attempt at doing like a southern bluesy kind of story song that Eminem kind of comes in. Jelly Roll, I actually really do enjoy his stuff, but it once again, it was very, underwhelming. So overall, I just, I couldn't find a lot of the great flows and stuff. It was nice, but it just lacked the syncopation with the beat. And it's funny, after this album ended, automatically Hypnotized came on by Biggie Smalls. It was the craziest thing. And I thought to myself, here's a beat that I actually really uh am grooving to, and the rap isn't trying to go crazy with speed. It's moving with the syncopation, and it owns the beat. That's what it does, and it's the kind of things. Oops, sorry, I have a dog barking here. That's the kind of thing that it is. You need more. Shh, quiet. So overall, I was a 5 out of 10 for me. It was just not my cup of tea. I do enjoy Eminem's skills. I just don't enjoy his ability to stick along to the side of Eminem that I want to see, and that's the musical songs. And that's more my style than it is like the mixtape or the beat, just a beat with him kind of spitting a bunch of, all of the stuff he's got a lot of opinions on. And it's I'm not like the censor triggered person, but I do feel like it feels a little less random and more continuously like overused in this album, to a point where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna get headlines if I just go over the top, like one song after song after song, and you're really gonna get upset, aren't you? And it's like it feels too obvious, especially today when you can do that continuously and you're gonna get a reaction. So yeah, that's just 5 out of 10.
You heard it here first. That's Mike's rating of 5 out of 10 for Eminem's "The Death of Slim Shady." Um, anything else, guys? That's pretty much it, right?
That's all she wrote.
That's
That's
it.
all. That's all she wrote. We want to thank you all for watching, listening. However you enjoyed us tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in to our 100th episode of Career Retrospectives. Thank you for tuning in, as always, to our podcast listeners, to our YouTube viewers. You are awesome. Kyle, Q&A podcast is still chugging away, right?
Yeah.
Kind of on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but it'll be back.
Awesome. You're here first. So Q&A podcast by this guy down here. We'll do it's coming back soon. He's whatever. But yeah, he'll be back soon with that. So we are not sure if we're gonna be back next week because Kylo is going on vacation. Do you want to spin the wheel? So we have do you want to spin the wheel now? And we can do we were saying when you come back or no? What do you want to do?
It's up to you guys. We can do that, or Mike had the other one he had in
Yeah,
mind. So
I do have that Amirath album that I was interested in doing. If you guys want to do that next up,
We
works for
will
me.
we'll figure that out. Yeah.
convene. Okay, sounds good.
Cool. But yeah, so we may or may not just letting letting you know out there. We may have a show next week. We may not have a show next week. But I'll let you know via our social media pages as well and our YouTube channel as well. So that way you guys can figure out it too. If you want to tune in for that as well. But that's just a heads up because next week Kyle is going away on vacation, and Mike and I might have the show. We're not sure, but we will let you know. We'll keep you posted. Don't you worry. But thanks so much for watching, listening. Thanks for tuning in as always. Please follow our social media pages simply at the Super Review Show. Facebook and Instagram simply at the Super Review Show. I want to thank these two gentlemen for doing this show with me for 100 times now. They are incredible musically inclined people, for lack of a better
Woo!
word. You two are awesome. Thank you so much for doing it. And looking forward to episode 101 coming soon. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for watching this. However, you enjoyed tonight. So, but for all of us here at the Super Review Show, stay safe, take care, and be awesome.
Be awesome.